My role and purpose today is to ask questions of Dr. Jackie, as she's called, to see whether we can capture some of the process and some of the journey that she's been on in terms of promoting and living action research within her practice and within her professionalism in her roles at the school board. So welcome, Dr. Jackie.
Thank you, Tim.
We're going to start with a fairly general question today. Dr. Jackie, can you tell us about one inquiry project which you were involved in and why it remains memorable to you?
It's been a 12-year journey with colleagues that included my PhD with Jack Whitehead at the University of Bath in UK. When living educational theory is your anthology, it's your way of being no matter what you're doing. So it's a constant cycle of taking action, reflecting on it, and revising. And it's so embedded in your way of living that it's as natural as breathing. So my PhD research is probably the most memorable in that it was a period of very intense self-study and theorizing about my standards of practice as a superintendent and whether I was living up to those standards. It was transformative in my life as a professional educator, as I asked and answered, how can I improve my practice as superintendent of schools and create my own living educational theory?
Thanks. Second question is, how has action research, how has this process changed over time, and how has it changed for you? What do you think it might look like in the future?
When I started in 1995-6 to work with Jack Whitehead and a little group of 7 teacher practitioners, action research was not widely known in my world. In fact, I remember when Jack would ask questions about academics researching their own practice at my first AERA in New York in 1996. And the response to him was consistently dismissive. Since then, and progressively every year, action research has come into the mainstream of academic research, as evidenced by the number of action research sessions at AERA and the number of publications in that field, as well as the attentiveness to Jack's questions and comments. In the future, I intended to continue writing about my learning and encouraging and supporting teachers to do the same. When I teach in any professional development context on any topic, I'm teaching the actual research process.
So, as we're talking about teachers and teaching, how do you link then your academic life with the academic portion of the life that we lead with the practice portion? How do you link the practice with the theory?
Well, because I'm both an academic and a professional educator, there is no theory-practice gap. By starting with my practical knowledge and then listening to the writings in the academy, I've found the language to explain my thinking many times. When I work with teachers, I want them to speak with their own voices and use theoretical writings to support their developing living educational theories, but not as typology. This methodology is grounded in postmodernism in that the practice precedes the theorizing.
So when we're looking at practice of teachers, does this process really improve their practice?
Well, to talk about my own practice, I could certainly give you an example of my learning and improvement. In my work with school leaders, I've intended to work with them in a culture of inquiry and reflection. At times, when I've analyzed the transcripts of the meetings with school administrators, I found that I talk too much and listen too little. So I simply need to stop talking if I was to live according to my values and if they were to learn from each other in a learning community. Action research is a values-based inquiry. It's a persistent challenge to live every day according to those values, but it's a challenge worth accepting.
So if we're talking about the implications for practice, let's put a little wider scope on it. How does action research help us in improving social order and in improving the world in which we live with kids and parents?
You know, if we as professional educators commit ourselves to using our influence to improve the lives of families and children, we can improve the social order. I can think of some examples in my life, such as working with community partners to develop early development and parenting centers. And I worked with a number of partners who came together to build this place where parents could learn how to nurture healthy living in their children. And it's free of charge. And for this project, there was no money, but just goodwill, and people came forward. And now these centers exist in 20 of our schools. This role was not in my job description, nor in the roles of the partners. But when we heard Dr. Fraser Mustard's work about early human development and its significance for the whole of society, it just was necessary to improve the social order. And then in those centers, the early childhood educators researched their work to see the difference they made in their lives and published their findings in Volume 5 of Passion Professional Practice. You know, when I live according to my values, I have to take action to improve the social order.
Exactly. In Grand Erie, we've had the privilege of having a mechanism whereby we can ground ourselves in the reports, in our own learning, in a published way. How often and how do you think that information about inquiry needs to come up in terms of formal reporting and in terms of presenting to the community of educators, of professionals that we are?
You know what, I couldn't say this more strongly. It is absolutely essential that the knowledge of teachers be written and shared. It's been a prime focus of my life for 12 years to encourage teachers to speak with their own voices and not allow others to speak for them. Over the 12 years, I've supported teachers in learning communities to research their practice and write their accounts. There are now 6 volumes of Passion Professional Practice, 6 of them. It's available in print as it is here. It's also available on my website, www.actionresearch.ca. While reflective practice is a critical part of action research, the validating of claims to know through dialogue and written accounts is required in order to build that evidential base of practitioner research that Catherine Snow has challenged us to produce. Now, while the findings in an action research project are not generalizable, the process and the experiences of another teacher or administrator are very helpful in determining how to change one's practice in order to improve student learning.
So the essence of action research is collaborative and it's
Absolutely.
relational. Can you tell us some aspects of collaboration that you've experienced, that you've been able to help develop in this process?
The support model that I've developed, which I described in my book, Action Research for Teaching Excellence, is 5 days release from classroom for a group of 10 teachers with a facilitator who has conducted action research herself. That's an important point. All researchers are expected to attend the collaborative community meetings, come prepared to share their research to date, and to ask for and give feedback for validation of claims to know. The conversation is very important in collaborative inquiry because of the need to engage others in order to validate or challenge our claims to know. It's also important in the process of helping each other to sustain the inquiry when so many daily events can distract us. We support and encourage each other. That's it.
So what has been your most significant contribution to action research? What do you feel is the most significant part that you've played?
I think the significance lies in my influence in creating policies and practices in a system, my school district, that encourages and supports educators to ask and answer, how can I improve my practice? Jack Whitehead says that there are only 2 examples in the globe of this kind of systemic influence, mine and Maggie Farron's in Ireland. The evidence of my influence resides in the culture, in the 6 volumes of practitioner research, and just this month in the partnership with Brock University to offer a 2nd master's cohort program for the Grand Erie staff. The guiding question that will serve as the heuristic theme is, How can I better understand and improve my practice as a curriculum leader?